up, though? Welcome back to another exclusive 1 hour talk with Mozzie on the Rise TV. I got a special guest that's going to be in the building. Also, I got a special exclusive interview here today. You know, I'm naming this interview the perfect love story. You know what I'm saying? So I need everybody to tap in and follow me right now on Instagram at Maserati Santana. I'm back in the deep freeze, so this feels so good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So shout out to Vic. You know what I'm saying? I want to introduce my guest, but I'm going to let him introduce himself because nobody can do it better. So who we got in the building rocking with me?
Yes, sir. I am the one and only Curtis Smith, the third. I am originally from Fayetteville, born and raised. Had a short stint in the military as well, but we'll get into that later.
Right.
Send it back over to you.
Absolutely. You know, I call you Mr. I Forgot. You know? But
Yeah.
I'm glad to have you a part of the platform.
I appreciate that.
Welcome to the show. So let's just jump right into it, man. Like, kind of like let my audience know, like, where you a little bit about yourself, where you from.
I'm originally from Fayetteville, like I said before. I was born and raised on the Murchison Road all my life. Graduated high school, went straight in the military for many different reasons. I'm sure we'll get into that later. But just want to do something different. I want to be something different.
Right.
My mother raised me a certain way. She wanted me to be a man. She didn't want to be a product of my environment. Mm-hmm. And I strive, to do just that.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I want to get into. Like, I wanted to know, like, you being from the 2-6, you know what I'm saying, and whatever y'all call it, Vietnam, Bomb City, all that. There's so many names out here in Fayetteville. Yeah. But, like, you being from Fayetteville and you having a path that you was trying to be on, especially your parents, and you was able to have both of your parents in your life, right?
No, I was raised in a single-parent home.
Single-parent home?
My mother.
So what was it like growing up in a single-parent home?
It was normal to me because that's all I knew. When that's all you know, it's normal. It's regular. I mean, sometimes you see people with 2-parent homes, but of course, you see a different thing. You see something different. And all the people that grew up around me, majority of them, where we grew up at, I'm sure some people can attest and understand that it's normal to us,
Absolutely.
especially with mothers.
Absolutely.
My mother was a single parent. I mean, she worked her way through school, put me through school. I mean, even put herself through school, but made sure I never went without. I never went without anything. I never wanted for anything. I never knew anything different. Everything was normal to me. But on the outside looking in, other people, they think you going on the Murchison Road, you're this, you're that, but everybody's not like that.
Right.
I was blessed. And I thank God for having His hand on me and put me in a position where I never had to sell any drugs or do anything like that. So all my friends sold drugs around me. It was all around me. But they used to call me, be home for a dark. Be home. You better not let them street lights catch you, because that's my mama didn't play that. I had to be home for them street lights came on.
Yeah.
And I played sports, and it's like, I should always be running, trying to get to the door, get home for them street lights come on. It's funny now, but I was scared then. It's like, hey man, that's why you so fast. It's because you always running home trying to be, It wasn't funny then, but it's now I look back on it. But I understand why my mother instilled that in me. She wanted me to be safe.
Absolutely.
She knew once some street lights come on, wasn't nothing good after the lights come on, man.
So you have siblings?
I do.
What was it like growing up with your siblings?
Well, I didn't have a sibling until I was like 10 years old. So I was the only child for 10 years, so I was major spoiled. I was spoiled brat. And I never forget the day I was in Florida, and I was with one of my mom's friends for the summer. And she called me and she was like, she told me, she's like, I'm pregnant. I cried like a baby.
Wow.
I cried like a baby. I wanted to go home right there. I wanted to go home. Blah, blah, blah. And I went back home, but that was just me, I guess, being spoiled and just being the center of attention for so long.
Right.
But I do have a brother. He's 10 years younger than me. I have a sister, mother, and my father has a daughter, has another sister. So I have two sisters and my brother.
Yeah. So what was the relationship like with your father? Like, because you grew up in a single parent home, you're closer to your mom, but like, what type of relationship do you have with your father?
I never really was able to bond with my father because my father was who he was. When I saw him, my mom would drop me off. My father was from Shaw Road. So back then, Shaw Road was, my aunts and everybody lived on Shaw Road. They would have parties. And if anybody know anything about Shaw Road back in the day, where all them cars was where my people was. They had cookouts, family reunions, and things of that sort. They would drop me off over there. I would see my dad for a little bit. The only major real, as a child, memory of my father, every time my father would see me, he would talk, we'd talk a little bit, he'd say something, whatever, but he would look at my wrist, and he'd be like, where your watch at? Why you ain't got no watch on? And I was like, I don't know. He would take whatever watch he had on his wrist, he would give to me. He would always be like, son, you always need to know what time it is. And I never understood that. I never understood, but every time he saw me, he would take whatever watch he had on his wrist, he would give to me. He's like, you need to know what time it is. You always need to know what time it is. And it never dawned on me until I got older and started, once you come in and start learning things.
That part.
And life be life. And then you realize, I understand what he's talking about. And it was a broad statement.
Now you understand why Ray was acting like he was on life about his daddy watch. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So what did you get out of that though with the watch though? He said you need to know what time it was.
What I got out of it was, and going into the military and learning things of that sort. Because in military, if you ain't early, you late. And being on time and just knowing where you need to be, where you at, what time you got to be somewhere, and just time waits on no man, and you can't get time back.
That part.
So I took all that, in a nutshell, with all that in one.
Yeah. So speaking on the military, what branch did you serve when you was in the military?
Well, I went in the military at 17. My mom had to sign for me to go in, because I wanted to leave just that quick, because I didn't want to have no gaps, and I didn't want to have no error, no place in between where I could get in any trouble, because trouble is easy to get into, it's hard to get out of. And coming from where I was, it's easy to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But I say that to say this, I left at 17. I didn't know. You don't know nothing about life. All I knew was Fayetteville. But I left. I went and with the Army. I got out. I did 3 years and got out. But I had a son during that time, those 3 years. But I knew I always wanted to be a better father than my father was to me.
So wait, you're a father?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I got some kids. But I got out and I went into the National Guard because I knew that was a weekend warrior. I said, hey, I'm gonna get I know each month if I'm on child support, I'll be able to pay that child support. I'm not worried about me. I want to make sure my son taken care of.
That part.
I had that was just assurance. But I always believed in myself. I could do what I'm going to work. I never not work. And I did that, and then I went back in the military. So I went back and then I stayed.
Wow.
And I stayed for 23. I got a total of 23 years.
So being in the military, was this something that? Well, I'm gonna say this. You've been in the military. Did it show you how to become a man, or was this something that your parents wanted for you, more for you?
I don't think my stepfather did. My stepfather, which is my brother and my sister's father. He was there, with him and my mother. When I was around junior high school, he was there. And my sister was born when I was going to my senior year. So that was totally. I was like, you sick? No, I'm pregnant. I was like, what? I'm 16, 17. I'm like, well, you having a baby again? But that played a major role. And I always wanted to set an example for my siblings as well. My brother had a little brother. He always looked up. He always wanted to be like B. Curtis, follow me around. So I had to set an example with that. But my dad, my real father, my father, he was in the military as well. but he didn't retire or anything. But he was in the military. So all that, and nobody said, "Hey, you should go do this." And I chose to do that. That was a choice that I made for me.
Right.
I thought it was the best thing for me.
Was the military at that time?
Yeah, and it was. I think it was the best decision I made in my life. One of the best decisions I made in my life.
So where were you, like, as far as like making that decision? You coming out of high school. From high school, you went straight to the military.
Yeah.
Was there anybody in your life at that point? Personally,
just my mother and my stepfather, and I commend him for everything he did for me, because he helped me. He instilled certain things in me. Because I didn't have I was just me and my mother. She can't teach me how to be a man. She couldn't.
right?
But he instilled certain things in me. One thing I used to hate to do, it was the trash. That's like, he's like, son, that's all you gotta do.
It's just the trash.
He said, you'll understand it once you get older. All I need you to do is take this trash out. That's the only job you got. That's all I asked you to do.
Did you do it?
And I did it. Sometimes I'd be like, hey, he come home, but because he worked, he'd come home like, hey, why you take the trash out? I'm like, man, as a young kid, man, I got,
Absolutely.
Then, you smell yourself a little bit, but then, and that, growing up, like you said, as you become an adult and a man, and you have your own children, hey, man, take the trash out. Then you start thinking about, hey, that's what he used to tell you to do.
Exactly.
And my son is doing the same thing I did. Like, man, when I would like to say, preaching the same thing. Yeah. Hey, that's all you got to do. I work all day. When I come home, I want to take the trash out. If that's your only job, how hard is that?
Just taking the trash out.
Just take the trash out.
Yeah. Man. So we know, like, now I never served in the military, so a lot of people that I talk to from the military, they're like, try to let me know, but I want to know from you how true it is. Like, what would you say the percentage of when you being in the military, they want to push you to be married in the military?
I think I don't think anybody pushes you when you're, especially when you're a young soldier. Mm-hmm. Like myself going in, to be honest, I was like, I'm never getting married. I would just had that mindset as a young kid, like 18. By then I'm like 18, 19. I ain't never get married. Like I'm running the streets and do but that marriage thing is more so a money thing.
Benefits.
You're looking at benefits. You're looking at having more money being married, and some people do the contract thing. It's illegal, but it's being done. It's being done now, probably. But some people go that route, and some people get married. You're not ready to get married, but some people have kids early, and they just say, let's just get married, and it's not a good thing. Because you're doing it for the wrong reason. Mm-hmm. But I don't think the military pushes that, because you're away from your family a lot, and I think that when you do that, even when you create another life, and you're in the military, you're at a disadvantage, because you have to serve, you have to feed your family, but at the same time, like I said earlier, you're missing out.
Yeah. You had your first kid at what? What age?
Man, I was 18.
18, you had your first kid.
I was 18.
How old were you when you got out of the military?
I got out in 2018. I was 42.
When you got out of the military?
Yeah, I retired 42.
So, did you get married while you was in the service? Your first marriage, did you get married while you was in the military, or did you get when you was out?
Well, once I got out, I had my first son. And his mother, she was in the military as well. I got out before she got out, so she stayed. I was stationed in Virginia. Mm-hmm. She stayed in Virginia, and I came back to Fayetteville. After a few, I'll say, maybe a year or two, I met my first wife. I did get married. I met my first wife, but I had dated her in high school before, right. And she had a son at the time, and I think that's where we kind of really connected. And then I went with my son, and I connected with her son, and we bonded, mm-hmm. and we just we was together for a couple of years. Then Then I had another son. I had a son by her. His name is Curtis too. Curtis the fourth.
Wow.
So we had my son, and we was together for a while. And during this time, that's when the war stuff kicked off. So I had to deploy, and in that deploying, which I never been faced with nothing like that. Like, you know, it was always, do what you do, but it was serious now. You know what I'm saying? You got to go over here. You possibly could not come back.
Absolutely.
So I made a decision, and I love. She was my baby mother then at the time, my girl, whatever you want to call her. But I made a decision that you be in these briefings, and when you're in the military, you go through these briefings, and they tell you like, yo, you need to have everything everything together. Make sure you have everything taken care of for your family, because everybody wants to come back, but everybody's not going to come back. And that's just the truth.
So you can leave and
not come back.
Okay.
But you want to have your paperwork together. Well, you don't want to have loose ends, I say. So I made a choice, and I love her. You know what I'm saying? But like I told you before, I said I won't never get married, and that was just in my head.
See, that's the part right there. Like you said, okay, so I'm gonna run this back. Mm-hmm. So you got married or whatever, but unfortunately that didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? That marriage didn't work out. So, but what kind of like got me thinking was when you was done with that marriage, 3 months later you meet somebody else. Mm-hmm. And you jump into a relationship after a failed marriage. Mm-hmm. Walk me through that.
When my marriage was over, I was married for, what's crazy, I was married for 23 years.
What?
I was married, just 23 years married.
Good.
But my marriage was over, I would say maybe 10, even 8 or 10 years into that marriage. We was going through the motions. I wasn't honest. I don't think she was honest. She wasn't happy, and I wasn't happy. But by then, I had a daughter. I only have one girl.
Is that by her?
Yes. Okay. That was my first daughter. All I had was boys. And that was my first. And my daughter was born. Actually, when I was leaving for another deployment. So while I was training in California, I was called and it was like, hey, your wife's, I'm in labor, I'm getting ready to go to the hospital. Now we was leaving the following day. Mm-hmm. They was gonna fly me out and send me back to North California, but I asked her and she was like, no, it don't make no sense for you to come because you're gonna miss the birth anyway. You're gonna be back tomorrow, the next day, so I'll just see you tomorrow. Versus me just flying that, because I wasn't gonna be there for the birth regardless. I wouldn't have made it. But in that, I had my daughter, so I had to program myself in to be like, yo, let's try to make this work. And we had a discussion. More so for the children, but you thinking that, hey, maybe we can get what we had back. Mm-hmm. But the damage was done. I did a lot of damage, and really it was self-inflicted things on my part. I do take the brunt of the blame, because I was not the best husband. I wasn't ready to be a husband, and like I told you before, I never wanted to get married, and like I told you, one of the reasons I got married, I want to make sure my family was taken care of. If something was to happen to me, I want to make sure, everything was, all the T's and dots.
The American way.
Yeah, I just want to do the right thing. I felt that was the right thing to do, and she deserved that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. She's the mother of my children. Yeah.
We met. Remember the first time me and you met? Going to Atlanta, yeah. Going to Atlanta, we met. I didn't know that you and Charcy was dating, y'all had dated before in the past.
Oh yeah.
I never knew that.
Oh yeah, that's the story.
Kind of walk me through that story. How that happened?
Well, Chelsea came in. She came. I met Chelsea when I had already made the decision in that gap, that military, like when I was going into the military. Mm-hmm. So I was like, the Chelsea had to be she had to be 16 because I'm like a year too older. Chelsea was 16, somewhere in that range. And like I mean, if anybody knows the story, I was walking home from football practice, and our aunt stopped me. And make a long story short, she was like, "Hey, I got the perfect person for you. You'll be good for my niece." And I'm walking down Seabrook Road. You know, that's the road E. Smith. My house is right there. I'm looking at this lady like, I mean, she looked nice. So I said, well, maybe, apple don't fall too far from the tree. So I said, okay, you know what I'm saying. So eventually, me and her met, and of course, I heard, people, me and Chauncey, we ain't flow in the same circles. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So all I had to do was ask. I said, you know a girl named, you don't know? I said, nah, I don't know, Then they were telling me about it. Well, she that, and I was like, okay. So when your friends say things, you ain't gonna be able to do this, you ain't gonna be able to do that. That's like a challenge to me. I love a challenge. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me I can't do that. I mean, I know me.
That part.
So I met her. I felt out, I said, okay. She's a little tough little cookie. At least she thinks she is, you know what I'm saying? So we talked, but one thing I told her from the things that I heard about her, I tend not to believe everything people say about something. I like to get to know that person and make a judgment on my own.
Well, what were some of the things that you was hearing about her?
She likes a certain type of guy. You know what I'm saying? You got to have this, you got to have that. Mm-hmm. If you ain't got this, she ain't gonna talk to you. I said, okay. All those things, I come up zero on all that right there. I said, but I got a mouthpiece. I know. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I can talk for myself. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna let everything else do its work, do the magic. And she probably tell you to this day, the first thing I told her, before I even said anything to her, I said, I'm gonna show you something different. And she took that, and I guess something that stuck with her. She took out, so she wanted, and I asked her what she, later on down the line, she was like, I want to see what you was gonna do. But of course I did what I said I was gonna do.
And this is the younger Curtis.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So what was it? So what was your thoughts when you ran back into her? Modern day now.
Modern day. Yeah. I had seen her before. Mm-hmm. Before even when we started back, communicating. I saw her at a gas station or something, and I spoke because I was still married then. I was married at that time when I saw her, and we spoke. She spoke, and I was short with her because I'm not going to try to I don't want, and plus I didn't want you to think because the way I come across to certain women, I guess. I just told about this by my wife. She told me. She said you could say something, and don't mean nothing by it, but a woman may take it a different way.
Oh, absolutely.
And because I'm just being me. I can't be nobody but me. I'm me everywhere I go. I can't be nobody else. She said you could say something, make a woman feel they may take it the wrong way, I guess, and it's not meant that way. And she told me. I sat back and thought about it. I said, well, okay, I can see how. Maybe somebody could take what me saying a certain thing the way I say it, I guess. Right. But I don't mean that. I just not meant that way. But we talked. I mean, we didn't talk. It was like a high and by thing. But you got to understand this part of it. The part that we haven't talked about is me leaving. So I went to basic training. Me and Charles was together when I went to basic training. Before I went and while I was there. So she was writing me letters, we were writing each other back and forth. But in between that time, I knew, just reading her letters, that this is not what this is not the Chelsea everybody else see. That they know.
She had changed.
was, to me, I mean, I don't think everybody saw that side of her. What those letters I get, you know what I'm saying, you know. So I'm like, she's really, you know, I have my, you know, I put my footprint on. She's really digging me. I was into her too.
Well, let me just add something in. So at this time, you wasn't saved at this time?
No.
Were she? Do you think she was saved at that time? Like, was she drinking? Was she smoking at that time? Like, or?
I don't think she ever drunk or smoked.
Period.
That I know of during that time, because we were so young back then. You know, the flea mall was open. We would just go to the movies. We'd go to the flea mall, go to the mall, hang out, and just chill. We just enjoyed each other.
Yeah,
it was just, when we was together, it was just us.
Right.
And it's just, and I knew that I had to leave. So I want to do some special things. Just like the picture that they showed up there. When the beginning, it was young. That's the picture we took at the flea.
Yeah, I was definitely young.
Yeah, we took that picture there. But in me leaving basic training, once I got out of basic training, I came home.
Yeah.
For a few. And I seen Chelsea. Chelsea has always been headstrong, driven, always knew what she wanted to do. She's not almost the same as she is now, but she's even more, plus 1,000, 1,000,000, if you want to say.
It was like a Tubi movie though. Like you was married and you seen her, and you said something to her.
Yeah, we talked, but I didn't. That's all it was. And she could tell you today, and we talk about this sometimes all the time. And she always say like, "You act like you ain't trying to get my number. You ain't." I said no, because I was married, and now the old me, I probably would have been like, "Yo, let me get your number," But I knew, and I broke up with Chelsea when I was getting ready to go back, when I was going to my first duty station. The reason I broke up with her, but the reason we broke up, I broke up with her. I say broke up, but I knew I had to let her go, because I didn't want to put her through. I love her then that much to let her go and live her life, because she knew what she wanted to do. Me, I was 17, get ready to turn 18, going in here and going to be going to basic training. I don't know where I'm gonna be after that. I don't know if I'm going to Korea, Germany, whatever. When I'm my first duty, I didn't know, but I didn't want to drag her through all that.
Right. I
didn't want her to just be hanging on waiting for me, and then, I really didn't want to break her heart, but I did it anyway. I mean, I did it thinking I was doing the right thing.
Did it with good intentions.
Yeah, good intentions. So, hey, look, I want you to live. She always wanted to do hair. She had a vision. She knew what she wanted to do. And when she wanted to do something, she gonna do it. And back then, I knew that in her. And I always tell her, I said, women mature faster than men, so you're older than me in a couple of years, but even though I'm older than you. And she said, why you say that? I said, because you remember when you was younger? I said, you was focused and driven then. I wasn't. I was still a little boy. But getting ready to trying to be a man, thinking I'm, you know what I'm saying? But she knew she was a young woman then, at that age, that young. She knew what she wanted.
You knew her other brother?
Yes.
He passed away? Yeah. What was your thoughts when he passed away?
Well, I didn't know until we got back together, because I have no social media. I'm not on social media at all. Like when I left, like some days I go somewhere, people are like, when you get back? And I've been for years. But I'm just I'm not hiding from nobody, hiding from anything, but I'm just that type of person.
Yeah.
I ain't looking for nobody. I ain't looking for nobody. Hopefully nobody looking for me.
So you get back with Chelsea. Mm-hmm. So now y'all rocking back. This is the time I meet you now. Yeah. We going to Atlanta. We did our thing in Atlanta. I think I was hosting for a UFC fight in Atlanta. Yeah. That was my first time meeting you, and you was a stand-up guy. And we know what you did, you know what I'm saying, when we went out there, how much of a stand-up guy you was. And I was like, man, this is but she never really told me who you were. Yeah. She never told me the backstory on who you were. Because like I said, I just recently found out that y'all was dating before. I didn't know that. Yeah. My thing is, when did you reconsider being remarried?
During that time right there, well, even a few months. I think it was maybe a few months or so before we even went there. Once I had separated from my wife, I separated. Be honest with you, I was in a sense I was kind of lost in a sense, as far as like I knew that was something I should have been did, and then I got left my wife. Well, separated from my wife.
Okay.
I left, and it almost to the same extent like I did with Chelsea the first time with her when we was younger. I wasn't happy, and I knew my wife at the time. I knew she wasn't happy. She was dealing with me doing. I mean, I wasn't doing like I wasn't doing no cheating, no infidelity thing, no infidelity. But I just wasn't. When you're not happy, you tend to do things that just don't make no sense. That's just the bottom line. You tend to do stuff that don't make no sense. You tend to hurt people with not the intent of hurting them, but you hurt them. And you don't realize that until you had to sit down and look within myself and look at me and say, what have I done? What can I do better? What am I doing? Am I the problem? Because once you start pointing fingers, there's a whole bunch of them pointing back at you. So I couldn't blame her for all. I can say, well, she didn't do this, she didn't do that, but what are you doing? What did I do? And it was me. And I made a choice and just, I didn't want, me and my ex-wife, we're both the same age. We're getting ready, I'll be 50 next year. And at that time I was like, you know what? You don't deserve to be unhappy. Because I truly believe she would have stuck and stayed. But that's just a belief that she had in me, I think. But I didn't want to drag her and, do that when it's another man out there that probably can make her happy the way she need to be. And for me to take up, I already taken half her life. And she did the same as well, but I just felt like there's no need. I didn't think it was fair for the both of us to be unhappy. Gotcha. I mean, our kids are grown. They're out of the house now, so there's no little kids. Everybody's grown now at that time. I mean, at the time. My kids are grown. Everybody, we raised everybody grown. They're doing good things.
Gotcha. Are you an insecure man?
No, never.
Being as though, Chelsea, she's into this, entertainment industry. She podcasts and she got the brand and stuff like that. And she's going to be approached by different men and even with you re-entering her life and having potential guys that was lined up, that was already, okay, well, I'm next. Or, possibly I could be Chelsea's husband. What made you stand out? And how do you stray away from being insecure with Chelsea and what she does?
Well, I mean, just like I started the interview, I ain't but one of me. God ain't made but one of me. He made me the way I am. And I've always been that way. Some people call it, a lot of people say you're arrogant or you're conceited. I've always felt I never presented myself that way. I'm confident in myself and what I have to give to a person. And I know that when you choose a partner, that person has to have just a little bit of you in them. And I know that she has that in her. And I don't know. And like I always say, can't no man give you what I give you. No man will ever be other than God.
You stand on that.
And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Can't nobody do that. Can't nobody love her like I love her. Nobody ever will. Because I'm different. I'm built different. God stacked me up different. I'm cut from a different cloth. That's just how I feel. When I wake up in the morning, I look in the mirror and say, I gotta be greater than I was yesterday. I gotta be better than I was yesterday. I made something I do today, somebody might need me. Something I say to somebody might change their life. Just a hello, just a hi, just, hey, I know that, things of that sort. The little things that you do. Mm-hmm. But I know Kate, just like I tell her, I ain't worried about that. You go, long as she happy. And I know what I signed up for. I know what her world is like. She told me, she was like, well, do you know? She always said, do you know who I am? I said, I know you are. But I know where you're coming back to. Because you're coming back. You're coming back.
You know what? You speak about, you said nobody can love her like you love her.
Nope.
So let's talk about your love languages, right? So what are your love languages and how do you express your love languages with Charcy?
Well, we got a funny, I think that we're different. Because a lot of times when you with somebody, you tend to hold back. You tend to not say what you think. You tend to some people you just can't be honest with. You just can't. But I could tell Charcy, hey, this girl said such, we talk about everything. We don't leave nothing back. She might say, she should tell me whatever. I'm like, oh, dang, that's crazy. But if anybody knows her, knows she's straight up. She don't hold no punches. She gonna tell you what's on her mind. She this, that, and other. And that's one of the things I love about her. But I do the same thing with her. I'm not gonna. Somebody might say, just like in her interviews, she said, well, babe, what you think I did wrong? I said, well, you did this right here. What you talking about? You did. She's like, what you mean? You just she make that. What you mean?
Yeah.
What? Let me look back at that. I said, well, look.
Yeah, make it make sense.
I said, look. I said, just look at it.
Yep.
I said, I know you. I'm not asking you. You're not perfect, but I said, babe, you could have did this better. I said, you asking me to critique you. Mm-hmm. You asked me what I see. I see probably what somebody else ain't gonna see because I know you. I look at you. Right. I see you every day. But we have a unique. I think we have a unique love language to both of us. We cherish each other's presence. Mm-hmm. She enjoyed being around me. I enjoy being around her. But I'm not. I'm that guy. I just stay out the way. I don't have to be in the forefront because she knows and she always know I got her back. I'm that real. I'm right there with her. Through dust to dawn.
Yeah. Do you have any fears in your marriage? But if you did have any fears in your marriage, how would you address it?
Fears? Well, your fears, all mine, I address them head on. But I don't. And I say it with all honesty, man. Like, it's hard to find someone that can almost finish your sentences in a sense, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Can know when to lift you up. You may not be down, but she gonna say this. I'm gonna say this to her. She don't. Sometimes she don't have to say anything. I said, babe, I be like, and sometimes I just call her and be like, I love you. And it's not just to say it, but sometimes when you sitting and you thinking, you like, you know what? I mean, it could be a million different things going on that's not good, or I feel that's not good, or I want to be better. But I feel like the luckiest man in the world because I have someone who loves me unconditionally, and I love her unconditionally. And we share a love that's, I feel like it's different. It's something you rarely see. It's something that just came back around because I felt like we never stopped loving each other. We always had love. That love was still there within us. It might have been buried, but it didn't take much to pull it back up.
Right. And that's dope, man. A lot of people look at you like Jesus. You're walking on water. For my audience, I just want you to answer, like, how did you stop her from how did the standing out part from you? You married her, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, a lot of people wanted to know that. Can you explain that on my show today?
Yes, I can. I can explain a little bit of it.
Yeah.
But it goes back to when we was younger. We always had a certain connection that was just different. I know that, and I think she knows it as well. I've always had. She always said, "You got a way of words," but if we're somewhere, I'll give you an example. If we're somewhere and Chelsea, you know, she ain't too much. She gonna, you know, you ain't gonna. You mean you gonna? It's gonna take it. It don't take much to push them buttons, and she flying.
Right.
But if I see it, I can almost feel it, and I can see it in her. Once I grab her by, I grab her wrist and say, "Babe, it's okay. It's okay." And that right there, she goes back in that. She slides back over a little bit, and I thank God I can be that person for her. And then to the day, like, you know, her father even say sometimes, like, when she flying off the handle, I'm gonna call Curtis. I guess I gotta call him.
Right.
But it's not that. I don't think it's me. I guess it is me, but I think it's us together. And I always say there's nothing we can't do or get through together. Because if we living and loving like we do together as one, can't nothing stop us. We'll stop them, man. Power, man. It's powerful. We're a power couple. Power.
Well, you know, I just want to say, you know, I apologize for not making the wedding. You know, I was in LA shooting film. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and I know how important that was, but this is important too.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I made it here today. You know what I mean?
Appreciate that.
It couldn't have been no other better spot than do it in the deep freeze.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So I definitely love being here today, and I appreciate you, man, for being on the platform.
Yeah.
America, that's Curtis. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Mr. I forgot what I call him. You know what I mean? So make sure y'all tap all the way in. We're going to get ready for part two. I'm going to have Chelsea join us.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about this all over again, and we're going to get to, you know, some other stuff. But until then, I can't even tell people where to follow you at because you ain't even on social media.
Yeah, I follow Chelsea. She followed me.
Absolutely. That's what it is. And make sure y'all follow me on Instagram, Maserati Santana, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, On The Rise TV. Until next time, I'll catch y'all on the next one. Love, peace, and happiness. 100.